Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. We are so thrilled to be back with you once again for another season as we chit-chat, debate, and deliberate our way through the fantasy season en route to fantasy glory. I'm your host, Erik Henriksen, and with me along for the ride once again is the Louise to my Thelma, the Clyde to my Bonnie, Josh Day. Josh, how you doing?
I don't know if I really like that reference, just because they both duos die tragically. So I get the sentiment, but I don't know.
I was trying to think of different ones. Batman to my Robin. We did that last year. I was trying to think of a new duos. Plus, we're co-managing this year, so if we go down,
Oh,
we're going
exactly.
down together.
Going down together,
There we go.
driving off that cliff.
Straight into the ravine. We're
Right
bringing
into
you
the
a brand
ravine.
new format this season that's looser, shorter, more conversational, bringing baseball news to you through a fantasy lens, a fantasy news magazine, as Josh told me. We have video also. So if you're on YouTube, you'll see our beautiful made-for-radio faces every show as we, go through the fantasy season. So check us out on YouTube at Talking Fantasy Baseball. On this week's show, speaking of news, well, there wasn't much, but we'll briefly touch on it. It was a really slow news week. Here's the news. Garrett Cole threw 10 pitches and the WBC ended. Done. But what we really have for you today is an update on our slow draft and what it says about ADP. And so that's kind of the lens we're going to take looking at this. And plus, we have a lot of feedback on how slow drafts go. This was our first,
Yeah,
and
I've never done it.
It's been an experience. So we have the slow draft, what it says about ADP. We're going to have a hitter segment and we're going to have a pitcher segment. And then, again, new format, we're going to have our final thoughts. So you're going to want to stick around for that. So as a reminder, we release a new episode every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're available on more podcast platforms than ever before. That's, again, new for this year, including all the major ones: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, now with video, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible. And here are the new ones: Spreaker, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Castbox, and my personal new favorite, iHeartRadio. Please subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating, a like, a thumbs up, a kind review. It goes a long way in helping us out. And if you have a question, leave a comment on the YouTube video, and we'll be sure to answer it right here on the pod. Or if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we will reply to it there on the show. So, without further ado, slow draft update and what it says about ADP hitters when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. Josh Day alongside me, Erik Henriksen, here to talk about the slow draft that we have been doing together over the last, what feels like month and a half, but I think it's only
No, it feels
been
like
about
forever.
8 days, maybe.
Oh, not even, yeah, just over a week. Yeah, it feels like it's been going on for a month.
Yeah, it's an experience. So this is the hitter segment. We'll have the pitcher segment for you a little later in the show. But Josh, just to get us going, because we're just going to loosey-goosey talk about this, we were doing this, and I think immediately after we ended last week's show, you messaged me and said, we have to talk about this slow
We got
draft
to
on
talk
next
about
week's
it.
pod.
I've never done a slow draft, so this was all foreign to me. It pushed the boundaries of my understanding of drafting and fantasy baseball. There were highs, there were lows, and we were in it together, man.
We're still in it. There are
We're
3
still in it.
rounds left.
We might even draft during this podcast. I don't know.
It's
I
possible.
kind of don't think so, but
I don't think so either, because this one guy has held up this entire draft almost every time it comes back to him. And there's no timer on this one for some reason. There was supposed to be, but there isn't. And it's just I keep going back. I check and we're 8 picks away. And then a couple minutes will go by and all of a sudden we're on deck. I'm like, what
I know
happened?
it's like a fire drill.
It
And
really
usually
is.
it's usually and for us, since we had the second pick. And so now, lately, it feels like it's just you texting me at 1 in the morning, what, we got, and I'm falling asleep. I'm Tyler Rogers. Now we're in the weeds of fantasy players, and it's
Yeah.
just I just pick something.
At this point in the draft, it feels quite meaningless. I mean, we are the current pick, the guy who is up right now to pick, it's pick number 279. So
That
like
too. This is a deep one.
yeah, this is a very deep
Deep
league.
league.
312 players are going to be taken in this. Okay, so hitters. What have you noticed when it comes to hitters in this slow draft? Anything in particular, whether it's guys are really being reached for, there's more at a position than you initially thought. ADP
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like, what have you observed?
I think what's interesting, there's a lot of interesting things about this draft. For us, for the context that we play fantasy, unless you're in some sort of secret parlays that I'm unaware of.
Nope.
But you and I play in pretty standard, so to speak, Yahoo leagues that are, fairly shallow, 10 to 12. But they don't have any like middle, corner infield, middle infield kind of stuff like that, which this league does. Like this is the 12-team league, but it has all these extra uh, spots to consider. So, it's a lot. I guess what I learned throughout this draft is like there's a lot more strategy of like, in particular, like, and I know you asked me about like reaching and stuff like that, but I think um, it helps to know like the player's eligibility because then you can like, it's like, oh, I can take Ben Rice here and I can either play him at first or catcher, but then later, and we also took like Tyler Soderstrom who can play in the outfield. So it's like you and I could kind of like, we had this like buffer to, where we wanted to place these guys based on like, I think for like the early rounds, it was kind of like best player available, but we
Absolutely.
had kind of like that luxury of like moving guys around to kind of like get the best value.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, oh, well, I mean, if we don't take a catcher and we take another first baseman, it's like Ben Rice is great at first base or at a catcher, because
Yeah.
he's going to play a lot more presumably than a typical catcher will. Um, so I think it was just kind of like being flexible um, and trying to just find this extra value of buffer,
Yeah.
having that flexibility and not reaching too far, but like kind of like going with the draft a little bit. So it's not like, oh my God, we need to get that. I mean, we definitely had some priorities for sure. Like
Oh
we
yeah.
got our second pick was Ketel Marte because we did want have no part of like the second base pool,
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I think we also allowed ourselves, like I said, flexibility and could kind of go with, how the draft was shaping up.
Yeah, we really we had the second pick. We have the second pick. We can't talk in the past tense. This thing is still going. So we have the second pick, and so first went Otani, utility hitter Otani. Then we took Aaron Judge. Not because, oh, well, maybe Bobby Witt provides more stolen base upside than Judge, which he does, but it was because we have paid very close attention to our league settings for a draft this
Mhm.
deep. This is an OBP league. There is no batting average. So Aaron Judge
Too,
is
yeah.
the best player in fantasy baseball for OBP. Not to mention he's going to hit, 40 to 55 home runs, maybe even 60 easily. So it's, the number one player fell to us at 2. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we wanted to fill the shallow positions. We went Ketel Marte second, Manny Machado third. We'll skip our fourth pick and save him for the next segment because he's a pitcher. But then we went 3 more hitters. And why we were so hitter heavy at the beginning is because this league, in its settings, seems to reward hitting more than pitching. And there were
Yeah.
other teams that went pitching heavy right off the top. But we went to Yahoo and we went to 2025 stats and we sorted by the final rankings of the players. And lo and behold, guys that you think would be, top 50 players that are pitchers were not. Hitters have more
Right. Yeah.
value for some reason. So we really concentrated on filling our hitting slots early.
Yeah, I thought it was really because when we were texting back and forth trying to make decisions, you would often like reach in or like look, take a peek at a player's how they performed in the previous season, and that was also really eye-opening to kind of like, it's like we have these like macro kind of viewpoints on these players, I would say, like whether it's like name value, just kind of like very shallow understanding, or maybe you have a slightly deeper understanding, but perhaps that's only within the context of like your one or two leagues that you play in. I'm talking about like the average person, not
Yeah, of
like
course.
someone who plays. But then it's like, oh no, this is a new league. This has like we usually don't play OBP, so it's like, well, how did these players perform? So I think that was really great that you were looking into that
I remember
on
when
the
it
fly
was
there.
our pick in the seventh round. So we had second pick in the seventh round because it was the odd, it's an odd round. So you have we're coming back from the top of the snake. And I remember we were looking at, all right, who are the best players available still at this point? And we were like, oh, well, Framber Valdez is still there. That's still a very solid number two pitcher. And we thought, no, we got to go hitter here. And Tyler Soderstrom finished as like a top 80 player.
Yeah,
And it
wow.
felt like really good value to get Soderstrom again with the first base outfield flexibility there that we're taking him after we took Ben Rice. So
Mhm.
now we've got two first base options. As you were talking about before, we could put Rice at catcher. We could put Soderstrom at first. We could put Soderstrom in the outfield. It was just great flexibility
Yep.
taking Soderstrom there. And also because the league setting dictates that he's going to be more valuable than Framber Valdez. um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and that was really our thing after we locked down, our the positions early that were high end talent at second base, at third base, was to really kind of look at, all right, who here actually was a better value in this league. Um, somebody like somebody who's a top 8 shortstop, generally speaking, in most drafts before he broke the little tip of his finger, was Jeremy Pena. We decided to wait on Pena, and he fell to us in the 10th
Mhm.
round, and we took him because, again, hitting is more valuable than pitching. It in this particular league.
Yep.
I did also see like a lot of people were not paying attention to that. So they were taking relievers
Right.
in the sixth, seventh, eighth
Early on.
rounds, or they were going pitching heavy early. But I also noticed that a lot of uh, a lot of guys that you would expect to be taken earlier, somebody like a Ramon Laureano,
Hmm.
who's a good in a deep league like this that has two utilities, a corner infield, a middle infield, and three outfielders. I would expect Laureano to go in the active rounds where you're going
Right.
to start him all the time, and he didn't. He went all the way down in round 23. But I was noticing that with hitters throughout, and I just maybe it's because enough people weren't paying attention to their um to the league settings. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think it like the later we get into this draft, it real just because the amount of players that we're pulling from, like it really, unless you're just like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? No draft. Yeah, like I'm tired of making decisions. But if you're really like in it, like it forces you to start looking at players that you maybe normally dismiss, I think, or like, oh, Ramon Laureano, like, he was a thing maybe 4 seasons ago, but then what, didn't he get like suspended
Yeah, and I
or
think he had a
something?
shoulder
And then, and
issue.
then,
Yeah.
and then it's just kind of like but it turns out he was actually pretty good last year. Maybe not the most like consistent, but like in the context of this league, he could be pretty useful. For me, it had me start looking at players that I like I said, I kind of dismissed in my shallower leagues. Like one of our picks was Adolis Garcia. Like I was like, oh, he was good maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago, and then he kind of fell off with Texas, but now he's with Philly, and then you kind of did some research and actually, oh, he was actually pretty good for this type of league last season. And then I started looking into like spring training news about him too, and I was like, oh, he's with Philly now. He's going to have an everyday role, I think, in right field. He's actually worked on his swing. Like apparently, this could be, who knows if it sticks, but like this change of scenery with this new organization, it sounds like they've like worked. I think it was like bat speed or like getting his bat in front of the ball quicker. And I think like 2 or 3 days ago, I read some news that he went like 4 for 4. I think he was struggling a little bit before that, but just hearing the news that he was like working on something is interesting anyway in spring training, whether it
Yeah,
sticks or not. But
yeah,
but anyway, just like, being forced to kind of look into players more than just like these assumptions that we've created, could open up our eyes to like potential like, resurgencies with some players that were forgotten, and like suddenly this season they're having a good, like maybe bounce back seasons. And I think, doing this research, like this weekend, we have some more traditional drafts coming up, but like kind of being forced to do this kind of research, I think was definitely beneficial for those upcoming drafts.
yeah, absolutely. I very much looked at these, even though they're going to be leagues that play out. The two slow drafts I was in, including the one that we're doing
Oh
together.
yeah, you were doing another one.
Yeah, I no, I very much looked at these. That other one is shallower than this, but I very much looked at these leagues as really good mock drafts. Like, even though they matter, I was looking at them as mock drafts for our money leagues that we play in against each other. Now, I think one strategy that was really interesting, before we move on to pitchers, that we took when it came to hitting was we were looking for very safe floor plays
Right.
in because
Yes.
it's so deep. A lot of people weren't doing that. They were taking risks or they were just taking the
Hmm.
name value. We
Right.
we said, okay, what is the floor of this player? Like we took Spencer Torkelson in
Right.
the 11th round, second pick in the 11th round. Why, if we already had Ben Rice and Tyler Soderstrom? Because at that point, he was one of the few players left you can basically pencil in for 30 home runs.
Yeah, that
And
was.
it's an OBP league, not a batting average league. So that also helps as well. And plus you have Judge, so you know, we've got basically two players in one for this
Yeah,
particular
yeah.
league. But we took safe floor players early to
Yep.
fill out the majority of our roster. We took upside plays for corner and middle infield, and then we kind of went back to having more of a predictable floor play for our utility spots. I I think we filled our utility spots. I don't like this interface because I
Yeah,
have
I
to keep
was gonna
track of
say this
that.
clicky draft. I've only seen like on social media people posting their results, but I've never used it, which is kind of like strange because it doesn't. It just kind of like gets my like mentally. I'm just like in a different mindset than Yahoo,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like easy to forget like position eligibilities, like
Oh
the
yeah, it's
league
different on here.
rules.
Yeah.
Like it's a little like you gotta keep on top of it.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, I was like writing this out for a little bit. I don't know where I put the piece of paper, but I was writing out like, okay, we have filled this spot,
Mhm.
we have this spot, and it's like, it's a little tough, but I think Garcia was our second utility fill in there.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. If not, we better draft a hitter next.
I think we
but
should. I mean,
but
I think there's actually still some good hitters on the board.
yeah, tell us about that. Who do you see still out there?
Um, well, I think we only have 3 picks left. So, I think we could probably benefit from taking some risk. Like I
Sure.
think you and I were discussing like Jason Dominguez, like
Yep.
maybe because one thing we're kind of lacking with our hitters right now is the speed aspect.
Yeah, we
And I
did
think
not do the
that's
best job of addressing stolen bases.
so I kind of think he might be a smart pick. regardless of like his playing time is probably the riskiest, one of the riskiest things I would say for him. And it's unfortunate because I think he's ultimately talented. I think he needs to work on his defense.
But he also just needs to play consistently.
He just needs to play consistently. But if you look at his like fan graphs, he steals bases. That's like one thing he does. So I think that would be a potentially a good pick in this part of the draft. Also, like, how much do we believe Trent Grisham is going to like
I do
do what he
not.
did? He has not done anything this spring. Giancarlo Stanton is probably going to get injured, unfortunately.
Playing time will
Anyway,
open up for Dominguez for sure, without a doubt.
I think he could be a good possibility. We have other, I think Chase DeLauder, I think could be a good pick. I think he's kind of going under the radar, but he's having a good spring. And the Guardians need him. Like they need offense. Like that,
Yeah.
they would be
Outside of J Ram.
foolish
Yeah.
not to bring him up and give him like a big gulp to just go.
You know who else is interesting, and in most leagues he will definitely be left to the waiver wire. There's really no reason to roster him, but Sal Frelick is actually a
Yeah,
good option in this league. We need stolen
sure.
bases, right? So he stole he stole 19 last year. But he's an on base percentage guy. He's an OBP guy. We might be sacrificing a little too much power, which is I think another reason why he's still out there. But
Yeah.
I like Dominguez and I like DeLauder. I would not mind taking either of those two. And then if we needed power at this point, Jake Berger is still out there, but I don't think we need power. Speed or like an
I don't
all
think
around
so.
upside play
Yeah.
is where we're at as far as hitters go. But yeah, there's still some options out there. If you're a Mets fan, you want to take Mark Vientos, you're
Well,
bringing
I'm
a payment
also
to
like
you.
just we don't have to go into like a whole lot of stuff, but I'm also hearing whispers of like this could be a breakout season for Cam Smith.
Yep.
And also like it sounds like Evan Carter of Texas. It sounds like he's going to get more playing time against lefties. So, never say never
I
unless you want to say never.
I will say never on Evan Carter. I'll say never on Evan Carter. He can't hit lefties, and
Hey,
that back.
I'm the tea leaves, the buzz. I gotta,
I know.
to share it here.
I like Cam Smith buzz, but I do like at this point in the draft, again, 312 players that are going to be taken. We're on our last 3 picks. I like going for upside because at this
Sure.
point it's such low draft capital, you can only profit, really.
Exactly.
Right. And this is a saves plus holds league, which is might be a reason why pitchers are being devalued. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, again, the slow draft, but pitchers this time. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. That's Josh Day. I'm Erik Henriksen. We are talking about our slow draft and what it says about ADP. This is the pitcher segment. If you missed the hitter segment, go back and listen to it. It's in this episode just a few moments ago. So, Josh, I asked you, what are some things you've noticed about the hitters? What are some things you've noticed about the pitchers?
Well, I think I'm gonna just bring it back to what I was saying with hitters in some way, because I think this might be the talk of the draft, is that it's really important to know your league settings. Um, and the fact that we're in clicky draft versus Yahoo, I think some people just completely forgot because Otani was taken first overall. I think people forgot that he was split into 2 players. So we drafted pitcher Otani in round 8
Yeah.
because I think, well, you clocked it more, you were like, hey, Otani's still available, right? And were like, oh yeah, he has not been drafted. And so then we of course waited for our turn, but then you messaged the commish and said, hey, and sure enough, he was ours,
We drafted him 95th overall. And
which
let me
is
tell you,
crazy.
absolutely nuts. Otani, when he's been healthy, has never not been a good pitcher, right? It's not like there were 1 or 2 seasons early in his career where he was not a good hitter, but he's never not been a good pitcher.
Yeah,
So
always.
we literally got an SP1 at 95th overall.
Yeah, he was our second pitcher, but still, like that was incredible value.
Oh yeah, I can't believe people forgot about him. Just a couple names taken ahead of him in this draft that you might want to vomit over is Dylan Cease, uh, George Kirby, um, let's
Jesus
see,
Luzardo.
Oh God, Jesus Luzardo, Framber Valdez. Those are pitch eighth round. So we're going
Wow.
back the other way. Ryan Pepio, Tyler Glasnow, and Jacob Mizorowski. I would want Otani over all of those. May even want Otani over Freddie Peralta. And Joe
Yeah, I think.
Ryan for sure. Uh, so
I mean,
wow.
he's like I mean, I have him as like a top 10 E. He's an SP1 as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely great get for us. But something we talked about in the hitter segment was that we went hitter first. We went Judge, then we went Ketel Marte and Manny Machado. Our
Yep.
fourth round pick, despite the fact that pitchers are less valuable here, we watched Paul Skeens, Skubal, Brian Wu, Garrett Crochet, Christopher Sanchez, Yamamoto, Max Fried, and Hunter Brown all get taken before our pick in the fourth round. So we thought,
Yep.
okay, we've missed the pitcher run. That's okay in a league where pitchers are less valuable, but we should still be competitive in the categories that they provide.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like Logan Gilbert has been nothing but like at least an SP2 since he got called up a handful of years ago. And he's just been phenomenal. His strikeout rate went up last year. I think it was a really good value to get Logan Gilbert in the fourth round here as our SP number one. And he might be our SP2 knowing that we got Shohei Ohtani in the eighth round.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the guy who drafted Kubel and Crochet in rounds 1 and 2, and I'm like, we got. I mean, maybe Gilbert and Otani aren't quite there, but they're still in the top 10 pitchers, and we drafted round 4 and 8. So, I thought just based on that alone, we got incredible value,
Yeah, we got
you know.
tremendous value. And then coming around to the ninth round turn, Will Smith and Willie Adames got taken before us, in between our picks, I should say. And then we went upside actually here again because pitchers are less valuable. And at this point, we thought this guy actually is an ace in waiting, and there's a very
Yeah.
good chance he's going to be one right off the bat. We took Chase Burns in the ninth round here because
And also
strikeout
like,
upside.
I think we both agree on this, which is just pitchers that generate strikeouts are just you got to take your shot. And this guy just, I know he had some blow up starts last season, but like he would just it was like every start was like 10 strikeouts,
Yeah, he was like one of the first rookies or like the
Yeah, he
youngest
broke
player
some
ever.
record, right?
Yeah, to have like 4 straight starts. And okay, don't add us. He had the one start that was rained out after 1 inning.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but otherwise it was 4 starts in a row of 10 strikeouts. Like incredible. He's got swing and miss stuff, and I feel like in this league, the fewer starting pitchers we have that put up more stats might be beneficial just because they're not as valuable. So like
Yes,
get the value where you can and don't
exactly.
hurt yourself. Don't hurt the team by having too many. But then we waited 4 rounds to draft another pitcher. And in that time, so many pitchers were taken. We went 4 hitters. We went Peñas, Torkelson. We went upside with Weatherholt and Sal Stewart as our corner and middle infielders. But there were a lot of pitchers taken. And again, this league with the league settings, I just don't think guys like Kevin Gausman, Shota Imanaga, Drew Rasmussen, Sonny Gray are going to give you any value.
Yeah.
I don't think pitchers were really reached for in this draft so much. It kind of seems like waiting on pitchers seems to be a thing That was in both of my slow drafts. Waiting on pitcher really seemed to be a thing. Load up on hitting early, grab your ace early, and then after that, you can kind of wait to get good value out of pitching. It's kind of what it seems to me. Like we went 3 picks between Gilbert and Ohtani. 3 rounds. Yeah. 3 of our
Yeah.
picks, 3 rounds.
There was one manager in this league that waited all the way until round 13 to take their first starting pitcher, which
That
I
was
think,
surely a choice. That was surely a choice.
I mean, it's very risky, his pitchers he does have. A lot of injuries
Yeah.
and probably people that will be injured
Yep.
and maybe not very good.
Yep.
Um,
There are plenty of IL spots in this league, but to take Blake Snell and Mackenzie Gore as your 1-2, I feel like you're asking for pain.
oof.
And then Rodon was his 4th pitcher taken, still injured. And this particular manager on the Discord was saying, I have to draft somebody who will pitch this month. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all he kept saying
I don't
because he
know.
also
Does he
drafted
have
Hunter
that?
Green and Joe Musgrove. Like he drafted an
And,
injured pitching staff on
and
top
also
of waiting.
Roki Sasaki.
Oh
Like,
my goodness!
hey, whoa.
Hey, now that is problematic. So he
You're
look.
so good in the ninth inning.
He looked at the standings, and as Justin Steele actually just got picked in the league, he looked at the league settings and went, "Oh, we start 12 hitters. I'm gonna draft 12 hitters," and then he's drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pitchers in a row. Then Ramon Laureano and Brendan Donovan. He still doesn't have any relievers. This is a saves plus holds league.
Right, yeah.
What have we learned? Because one of our money leagues that we play against each other in that we talked ad nauseum about last year, one of our leagues is a save plus holds league. What have we learned about relievers in those leagues, Josh?
They are worthless. You can, no point, I don't know why this person drafted, like, and the current slow draft that we're talking about here, someone drafted Mason Miller in the 6th round. Waste of a pick,
Total waste.
you know?
I mean, Cade
Just,
Smith was the 2nd reliever off the board. Like,
so,
why?
I don't know. It's almost like I almost feel like pick a lane, like if you're gonna do saves or holds. It's
Yeah.
just it just completely undervalues that position. I just think
It's a
no. I think I'd
lazy
prefer
category.
saves. Yeah.
It's a lazy category because then you can have managers not fully pay attention, just realize that a reliever is racking up this one category, and then they just pick
Yep.
up that reliever. That being said, saves can be an absolute pain in the neck because when one kind of pops up, it's like the sharks or piranhas to like
I know, but
blood in
that's
the
kind of
water.
fun. That makes people, well, like hopefully you have managers that pay attention and are
Yeah.
engaging all season. And it's like when you have like a shortage of a a category that you can actively, manage throughout the season, I think that's great. As annoying and as of a headache that is, I think
Yeah.
I think it makes drafts interesting too, because people get like really antsy over only saves leagues, they start reaching for their closers in round 5 and
Or they keep their closers as a keeper. I won't name names, but we know people who do that. And
Yep.
I don't care if you can keep Edwin Diaz in the 21st round or Mason Miller in the 16th. They
Don't do it,
provide
folks.
one category. One. That's like saying, I'm going to keep Chandler Simpson.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
I understand their ratio smoothers to a degree, but they might play one or pitch one inning in an entire week. And is that really worth exchanging like
No.
Byron Buxton, who's a 5 category contributor, or like I wouldn't do it. Like the guy who took Mason Miller in the 6th round, he gave up drafting Jackson Merrill, Jarren Duran, Cody Bellinger. Those were the 3 hit, and Ben Rice also taken in that round after he took Mason Miller. Those guys are going to contribute in more categories, and they're going to do it every day.
Yeah, and I would say his outfield kind of suffers for that a bit, maybe.
Yeah, I mean he's got Christian Yelich as his as one of his outfielders. I believe Kyle Schwarber
Oh, okay.
is
Yeah.
also outfield eligible. Um, but I mean this guy drafted like everybody who could. Bryce Harper, Corey Seager, Christian Yelich. I mean, how much IL? We have 4 IL spots, but like, please, Tyler Glass now. Oh my goodness, Trevor Story. This guy's entire roster is going to be hurt by May 1st. Anyway, again, general thoughts on the pitching position is that you can kind of wait on it. There's good value later. You want to grab your
Mhm.
ace early, that's fine, but just be aware, like you can still get like low end SP1, high end SP2, 6th, 7th, 8th round. So you don't
You know
necessarily have to
what's
reach.
what's just astonishing to me is how slept on Garrett Cole is.
Oh my goodness. What round did we
Um,
get him in? 17?
17th round.
17,
Just
second pick in
like
the 17th round. I'm going to do the
the
math.
great news about him coming off in spring training. It's he's got the velocity. He's going undrafted in some leagues, and
We got him
it's
192 or 194 overall.
and I'm not just saying that as a homer, but it's just like people gotta wake up here. Like
Yeah.
he's probably just gonna miss like maybe a month and a half, and he seems like somebody that could. I know it's always like a little risky taking pitchers that are coming back from injury, but I just, he's demonstrating the velocity and, I think this could be a case where you should definitely invest if you can.
So wrapping up the segment, wait on pitchers. If you're in a saves plus holds league, relief pitchers are worthless. We were able to get the leader in saves plus holds in the
Right.
19th round. Okay. Abner Uribe. He led the league in saves plus holds last year. He was phenomenal, high strikeout guy, good
Yep.
ratios. And we got him in the 19th round. And yet somebody took Mason Miller in round 6.
6.
So I think we got the same value 13 rounds later.
Yeah.
Just
Just
unbelievable. Pay attention to your league settings. It's important.
hear that all the time, but it's true.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we'll have some final thoughts for you and what we're looking for in the week ahead. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. Josh Day, Erik Henriksen. We're back with our final thoughts going into next week. What are we looking forward to this coming week, Josh?
I think drafting. I
Yeah.
think drafting it's like one of the best parts of playing fantasy. It's like where you're, you know, starting over, taking things that you learned from previous seasons and applying them in a new start. Maybe you have some keepers, some young keepers that you'll see your investments grow. It's fun just getting into chat rooms. I feel like a lot of fantasy baseball is like done in kind of these in isolation. So I think it's like fun to like get together. The slow draft is interesting, but I think, when we have in our more traditional drafts of like, this 2 hour block where, it's like 10 to 12 people just like trying to make decisions and, razzing each other and, you know,
Yeah.
like you and I, we both live near each other. So this year I'm excited to like hang out with you and our other good friend. And I don't know. It's just it's one of the highlights of fantasy baseball for sure. Is just
Yeah.
being in an active draft.
Yeah, I love drafting. It's my favorite part. Doing some mocks are rough because some people will leave early. If you've done a
Yeah.
mock draft on Yahoo, you know what I'm talking about.
I
Uh,
used to love mock drafts. Like I used to just
yeah,
like do them when we did redraft. Like
yeah,
I would just like spend like a good portion of a day, like when I was just waiting around at work or whatever, just like going to mock. Maybe I was one of the guys that left early, but like I would just spend like I would just like obsess over like the decisions. Now it's, of course, it's harder to do that, like with our leagues where there's keepers, because it's like, well, I can't,
Right.
what's the
Yeah.
point of doing this when I can't even take, half of these players? But yeah, I used to love doing mock drafts as well.
Yeah, they're so much fun, but there's unfortunately, I would love to do more real drafting so that way people don't leave early, but then you have to follow through and manage the league, the team the whole season. And
Yeah,
if you play in a daily league and you have multiple daily league teams, that is a lot of work and it is
yeah. Hmm.
nerve-wracking and it's too much. So you get stuck doing a lot of mock drafts, but when it's actually time, it's an adrenaline rush like nothing else, man. It is
For sure.
so
Yeah.
much fun. And like you said, just razzing on people, giving people a hard time, like the like sideways eye emoji to somebody's pick is my favorite thing to do, because then they
Yeah.
feel guilty and then they start justifying it and you're like, no, it was actually fine, but it was just fun to poke you with it. Yeah, looking forward to drafting. And then of course it's opening day this week,
Exactly.
so looking forward to that. I guess Yankees Giants is the singular opening day game on Netflix.
Netflix.
That's a thing, I guess.
Heart is
So
cleft in two. Both
yeah.
my teams.
What are you gonna do? Who are you rooting for?
I got one of those hats that's one of those ridiculous hats that are like split down the middle that I'll probably have to get custom made because like how often do they actually play each other?
What half of the NY would you take?
God. No, I guess I would have it like they would be moved like into two
Oh,
different
you'd split it.
boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No
Look at that.
compromise.
That'd be cool. I'm sure you could go to Lids or some other hat company and get that
Sure.
made if you really wanted to.
No, that would look ridiculous.
It would, but it'd be fun. And you could wear it for this one game or this one series.
In my
Okay.
living room.
You can wear it to the draft on Sunday or while we're recording this podcast, because guess what? You can see us on YouTube. I was going to say Yahoo. You can't see us on Yahoo. We're not there. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up right there. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. To make sure you don't miss an episode or with next week, the week before, next week, the week after, this week, subscribe, please. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. For Josh, I'm Erik, saying see you next time.
Good luck.